Chris and his son slept in the subway bathroom, using toilet paper as bedding. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Chris covered his son's ears with his hands and gently pressed his foot against the door. Tears involuntarily streamed down his face as he struggled to suppress his sorrow. After the person outside left, he finally couldn't hold back and began to cry. The next day, the homeless Chris took his belongings to work. After work, he picked up his son and went to a social organization for help, but they only accepted women and children. There, he learned about a shelter that accepted people. Chris quickly took his son and rushed over. Due to the economic crisis, many people had become homeless, waiting in droves to be admitted. Suddenly, the person in charge announced that there were only 4 spots left. Chris turned around and saw someone cutting in line. When he tried to reason with the person, they started hitting Chris. His son screamed in fear nearby. The person in charge told them all to leave. Chris couldn't hold back anymore and shouted, "I was here on time, waiting in line. I was on time." With the support of others in line, Chris secured a bed. That night, after putting his son to sleep, Chris repaired the broken machine by the light of the hallway. Early the next morning, he read books by the same light. Since the beds weren't assigned, Chris had to carry his belongings to work every day and rush to secure a bed after picking up his son. On the way, while rushing to catch the bus, his son's toy fell. It was his only toy. During meals, Chris never forgot to read, unwilling to waste any time for learning. Soon, the final professional exam for the interns arrived. Chris quickly finished and went to pick up his son. In the elevator, he encountered a highly educated person who had also finished early. Chris asked him how he felt about the chart questions, and the man said they were too easy. Chris felt the essay questions on the exam had stumped him. Suddenly, the man's face turned pale, and he hurried out of the elevator. It turned out he hadn't noticed the essay questions. Downstairs, Chris ran into the company's boss, who had forgotten his wallet upstairs and asked Chris for money to take a cab. Chris looked at his empty wallet and ultimately lent the boss the little money he had. Despite its importance to him, Chris went to the hospital to sell his blood and bought parts to repair the machine. They still had to fight for a bed. That night, his son suddenly asked if his mother had left because of him. Chris comforted him, saying it had nothing to do with him. His son touched Chris's chin and said, "You really are a good dad." That night, Chris repaired the machine. With trepidation, he turned on the switch, and a beam of hopeful light illuminated the room. The machine was finally fixed. The next day, Chris sold it, and his son was overjoyed. They no longer had to fight for a bed and could stay in a motel. However, his son fell asleep on the couch. During the internship, Chris signed 31 clients. The 6-month internship was coming to an end. The training manager called him in for a talk, making Chris nervous. He put on his clothes and anxiously shook hands with everyone. Chris felt he needed to wear a shirt that day. The boss told him to keep wearing it tomorrow because it would be his first day. Chris's eyes widened with emotion, tears welling up. He thanked the boss and was about to leave when the boss called him back. The boss returned the cab fare Chris had lent him. Chris walked among the crowd, now one of them. He clapped for himself, filled with happiness. This moment of joy was earned through his hard work. Happiness had knocked on his door. In the end, Chris became a millionaire. This is my favorite inspirational movie. It encourages me to choose to fight against fate when faced with adversity. Instead of drifting with the current, it inspires me to do what I love. Even in the face of doubt and contempt, I always believe that tomorrow will be better. I hope this movie can give you strength as well.